She brought the box to the table like it weighed more than it did. Polished wood. A hinge that didn't squeak. Inside, a golden compass sat on dark felt. She turned it once in her palm, then held it up between us and said she needed a man who could provide more. I let a small smile pass and set the compass on the table. The needle steadied. I didn't ask what she meant. The night moved on. She scrolled her phone under the tablecloth, the screen tilting away when a message flashed. I cleared the plates. She complimented the restaurant and posted a filtered photo of the dessert before tasting it. I watched her watching herself. She knew I noticed. A week later, she left a gym bag by the door, new tags still on it. Late workouts became routine. The shower ran at odd hours. She called them bursts of energy, said it with the casual tone people use when they're testing boundaries. I didn't argue. I adjusted dinner to reheat well. The compass stayed on the entry table. Lighting changed around it. Dust gathered then wiped away when she cleaned in a rush for guests who canceled. I kept a small habit of straightening it when I walked by. North stayed where it always was. The house felt different anyway. Her language shifted before anything else did. More, better, upgrade, elevate. She played with those words like coins. She pointed at other couples with louder lives and said it with a laugh that wanted to be harmless. I didn't give it a place to land. When she glanced at me for reaction, I gave her the same face I used with numbers. Neutral, steady, already measuring. Money crept into the edges. New subscriptions appeared on the joint card. Just trials, she said, then forgot to cancel. Ride shares at times she usually slept. 2 dinners in a week at places we used to treat as occasions. I set alerts on the accounts and moved a little more into savings without comment, providing starts in the spreadsheet long before it shows up in the room. Friends changed their tone with me. Too cheerful, too careful. They asked more questions than they used to, then stepped back before answers could form. She told stories with extra shine, skipped parts that used to matter. I logged the edits. I didn't press. Some truths don't need questions. At night she'd sit on the couch with one leg tucked beneath her, phone angled, smile ready. The lock screen notifications went quiet. New password on the laptop. Work privacy, she said. I nodded. Privacy is a choice. So is secrecy. I didn't label it for her. I watched the pattern repeat. I kept my routines clean. Early runs, grocery lists with exact numbers. A small folder on my desk where receipts and screenshots went, not because I needed them yet, but because unfinished puzzles waste time. I let conversations with her be short and polite. No edge. No performance. Distance does its own work. She tried different strategies. Jokes with a sting. Compliments that didn't match behavior. Testing if I would chase the space she created. I didn't. I learned a long time ago that silence draws better maps than arguments. Sometimes, when the house was quiet, I picked up the compass and closed my hand around it. Warm metal. Balanced weight. I'd set it down again, face it toward the door, then turn the lights off. I slept well. Pause is a tool, not a surrender. More could mean money. It could mean noise. It usually means attention. Whatever she was asking for, she wanted me to fill it without naming it. I won't fill a blank check I didn't write, so I waited. I tightened what needed tightening. I let everything else speak for itself. If she wanted to test her theory, I wasn't going to be the variable. Weeks slipped into a pattern. She started. Late workouts, a phrase that stretched past 10 and folded into midnight. The gym bag lived by the door. She came home damp and efficient, shower on, small talk off. I didn't ask how the workout went. I checked the time, washed a pan, and let the steam fog the room. Lunch was suddenly. With clients. No names. No stories. She came back with the kind of energy people bring from air-conditioned dining rooms, not conference calls. Her receipt disappeared quickly from the counter. I watched her archive it like muscle memory. I let the moment pass. Friends noticed before they chose words. At a coworker's birthday, her friend laughed too brightly, and then looked at me to see if I was laughing too. I wasn't. The table shifted to safer topics. Sports. Real estate. She kept her phone face down, buzzing like it had somewhere better to be. I sipped water and waited long enough for everyone to feel the length of it. The golden compass sat on the mantel, a polite ornament to anyone else. I moved it a few inches sometimes, then left it pointing toward the hall. It didn't direct me anywhere. It did something simpler. It fixed the center in a room that was learning how to tilt. Her calendar changed. Pilates with K, brunch with team, studio run. Entries that meant nothing outside themselves. The iPad screen angled away when I walked past. Not dramatic, just deliberate. Notifications moved to deliver quietly. People announce their distance with settings these days. She shifted her look in small ways. New fragrance that didn't live in our bathroom cabinet. A blazer with a designer label that hadn't been in our budget conversation. Neutral colors, sharp lines, careful hair. Clothes that say meetings and exits. She told me she was keeping options open. I nodded like she'd mentioned the weather. I tracked what mattered. A new boutique gym charge appeared, not cheap, on our joint card. A couple of rideshare receipts in the middle of the day, split fare with someone masked as an initial. The amounts were small in isolation. Patterns earn their weight over time. I set alerts on the accounts and left the rest alone. You don't need to touch a web to see where it leads. At home she was generous with efficient affection. Quick kisses that hit the air near my cheek. A hand on my shoulder in passing, light and practiced. She laughed at the right moments and made eye contact like a checklist item. I cut our conversations to logistics. Who's picking up dry cleaning? What time is the appointment? She knew I noticed. Our circle adjusted. Invitations started coming without my name attached. She said you were swamped, a friend told me with a careful smile. I let him keep the story he'd been handed. We finished our drinks. I left early and paid my part in cash. People understand exits even when they pretend not to. She tested little boundaries for calibration. Don't wait up. I might be late. It's important. I gave the same response each time. A nod, space, silence. Some truths don't need questions. They benefit from air. I recalibrated my own time. Up earlier. Runs around the block. Simple meals cooked in batches and stacked in the fridge like reliable decisions. The house stayed orderly because I kept it that way. I answered fewer messages and read more clauses and policies most people skip. Quiet work has its own tone. Occasionally she tried to pull me into performance. We should go somewhere nice this weekend, she said, eyes measuring more than asking. I checked my calendar and said the line I'd already chosen. You go. Enjoy it. She waited for an explanation that didn't arrive. There is leverage in not filling silences other people open. By the second month, her glance began to skim over me like furniture she once chose and was now reconsidering. It wasn't angry. It wasn't warm. It was transactional. I filed that with the rest. Foundations don't crack with noise. They slip in quiet increments, and then one day the floor feels different under your feet. I didn't chase the version of me she was editing. I sat with the facts I had, watched the rest form, and let the compass keep its place on the mantle. If she wanted more, she could learn what more costs when the bill arrives. The shower ran, but she was still talking. Steam curled under the door. Her voice was low, careful, the way people talk when they know walls carry sound. I stood in the hall and listened. Not long. Long enough. It wasn't just numbers. She spoke in tears. Rooms. Access. People who could lift her. Words like status and visibility slipped out between pauses. She laughed once. It didn't travel. She told whoever it was that she needed a man who understood momentum. The water got louder. The call ended. Silence returned to doing what it does best. I didn't tap the door. I didn't ask who it was. I went to the living room and picked up the compass from the mantel. The case felt cool. The needle steadied when I held it flat. Old tools don't argue with reality. They align or they don't. Digging deeper didn't require theatrics. It needed routine. I set up transaction alerts on the joint card and a second set on mine. I split a few recurring bills off into my account. Clean accounting isn't pressure. It's clarity. It's clarity. I let notifications do the talking and kept my face neutral. Patterns started showing themselves. Midday ride shares from the gym to neighborhoods we never visited. Boutique charges with receipts mentioning private fitting. 2 identical restaurant charges, minutes apart, the kind that happen when a table splits and no one wants to look obvious. I saved PDFs and didn't label them emotionally. Date, time, vendor. That was enough. At home, she started taking showers later. Phone face down on the counter, then carried into the bathroom with her. A new passcode. The kind of perfume that sits in the air like a decision already made. She rolled new words around the kitchen. Opportunity, ladder, circle, watching for a reaction. I pushed my chair back and rinsed my plate. I didn't offer advice. I didn't ask how the circle worked. I requested itemized phone records. No content, just shape. Unknown numbers repeating at predictable hours. Calls that began in parking garages and ended near the river, according to the cell tower handoffs. I didn't need the names. Systems have their own honesty if you let them talk. I mirrored her quiet with a version she couldn't use. No sulking. No forced warmth. I left earlier for work and came home on time. I stopped reminding her of things she forgot. When she asked if I could move some money around to streamline, I asked for details. She didn't have them. I waited. She changed the subject. I let it fade on the table. She floated tests. A joke about me not understanding ambition. A story about a friend whose husband finally got it. I nodded once and wiped the counter. You can't be baited if you're not fishing. She knew I noticed. She didn't know what I'd do with it. I set a threshold for myself. 1 point is noise. 2 is curiosity. 3 is action. The shower call was 1. The news spending fit as 2. A block of her calendar labeled studio, lined up with a hotel receipt that didn't fit our life. That made 3. The decision didn't need a speech. It needed discipline. I checked the shared tablet we never used. Her cloud settings were still on. Thumbnails drifted in and out as the device caught up. I didn't open anything that night. I closed the cover and slid it under a stack of tax folders. Patience isn't passive. It's targeted. The compass went on my desk. I set it there in the evenings and let the needle settle before I opened my laptop. A small ritual. North is north whether you face it or not. I adjusted my plans around that certainty. She moved through the house like a guest who was tired of being polite. I gave her space and kept the doorframe square. Friends texted about drinks. I said next week and meant it. I wasn't hiding. I was staging. By the end of that week, the alerts and the calendar told the same story as the water behind the bathroom door. No raised voices. No declarations. Just lines slowly converging. I didn't rush the meeting point. I wanted the facts to arrive first. Then I would open the tablet and see what she'd already left in the cloud. Some truths don't need questions. They need a place to land. I opened the tablet and let the sync run without touching anything. The cloud filled in its gaps like a patient tide. I sat back. I gave it a minute. The newest folder sat on top. A burst of thumbnails, meals, gym mirrors, a sunset. One image stopped me. Skyline at dusk. Glass railing. Her shoulder turned toward the lens. A man half in frame, angled in. Not a selfie. Someone else holding the phone. His watch caught the last light. No ring. Her mouth looked open mid-sentence. Familiar earrings, not the ones she wears to the gym. I tapped the info pane. Location, a rooftop downtown I'd only seen from street level. Timestamp, Tuesday 8:54 p.m. Her calendar tag for that night said, late workout. The gym closed at 9. The drive from there to here wasn't friendly. The metadata doesn't mislead. I saved the image, duplicated it to a hidden folder on my drive, took a screenshot of the details. Nothing dramatic. Just headings and numbers. It's hard to argue with time. There was a second shot in the series. 2 glasses on a table edge, condensation rings already drying. A bottle I recognized from a tasting we skipped last year because we said it was a splurge we didn't need. I scrolled for receipts. Found a confirmation email from the rooftop, sent to her account, archived, not deleted. 2 guests. The line item for that bottle was bold. The charge matched a push alert from that night I hadn't bothered to expand. I expanded it. The golden compass sat on the table beside the tablet. I flipped it open. The needle settled quick. Rooms don't move. People do. I closed it and kept it under my hand until the urge to move passed. I checked shared albums, then caches she forgot to clear. The man appeared again in a reflection on a black window. Profile only. Clean jaw. The way his shoulder angled said he was leaning in. She was leaning in too, but less. That mattered. I didn't scroll for messages. Not yet. Screens show enough. Patterns show more. I logged the rooftop's address. I added a rule on our bank app. Alerts for charges within 3 blocks of it. I set separate alerts for rides, boutique hotels, a boutique I'd seen recently in one of her tags. Not blocks. Coordinates. Her gym check-ins had shifted by 30 minutes the last 2 weeks. Not later. Staggered. A new class doesn't start every 9 minutes. I made a note. Small shifts tell bigger stories. I kept the tablet open until the screen dimmed. I didn't hunt. I let the next sync pull. Another thumbnail slid down. A bag on a chair, new, structured. Not inexpensive. Not from the place we buy gifts. The email for that one was clean. A delivery to her office. Signature on file. The signature wasn't hers. I put the compass in my pocket and walked through the rooms. Quiet house. Her shoes by the door, the pair she uses for runs that don't produce sweat. I straightened the mat and left it facing the exit. People noticed directions subconsciously. She would. When she got home, she stood in the kitchen longer than needed, keys in hand, waiting for a question. I handed her the mail and went back to the tablet. She hovered. I didn't look up. Silence isn't a test. It's a perimeter. She mentioned a new client lunch. I nodded. She asked if I wanted takeout. I shook my head and opened the fridge. I placed leftovers on the counter and didn't heat them. She watched me eat cold. People project their heat onto silence and feel the sting of it. She knew I noticed. The next morning, a charge hit for a ride share ending 2 blocks south of the rooftop. The pickup was the gym. Timestamps don't lie. Traffic that night had been light. I screenshotted, then set a calendar with no alarms. I wasn't chasing. I was mapping. I called the bank and requested read-only statements mailed to the house each week. I asked for separate online credentials for view access only. The rep didn't ask why. People always assume it's taxes. I let them. I kept my movements simple. Work, home, a run around the block when she left for hers. If she checked out the window, she'd see me turn the corner. If she checked again, she'd see I didn't lap back when she did. Distance maintains itself when you don't touch it. She started changing in the guest room. She started laughing in text bubbles I didn't need to open to hear. I updated the folder name on the tablet from miscellaneous to Tuesday. Clean labels, calm storms. By Friday, the rooftop posted a story with their skyline in the background. I watched it without sound. The angle matched the cloud photo. People love repeating their scenes. It makes them feel consistent. It makes them easy to trace. I didn't confront. I adjusted. I set the compass on the foyer table where sunlight hits at 4. I let it catch her eye when she walked out for her workout. She passed it without touching. That told me everything I needed for now. Evidence was arriving on time. Words could wait. Evidence stayed punctual. Money joined it. I set alerts on the joint account and let the phone buzz instead of me. Restaurants I didn't pick. Ride shares at odd hours. A boutique that sells dresses she called impractical last winter. The timestamps built a timeline that didn't need adjectives. She came home late that Tuesday with a bag she kept in the car until morning. I watched through the kitchen window as she popped the trunk and lifted it like it weighed nothing. I opened the fridge. She walked in, empty-handed. I didn't ask. By noon another transfer hit, joined to her separate checking. Not a big amount. Not random either. Recurring, same day, same figure. People hide in patterns and call it normal. On Thursday, a charge posted from a rooftop 2 blocks from the skyline in that photo. 2 entries. Tasting menu. Pairing. She doesn't drink pairings. Or she didn't. The bank categorized it as luxury dining. I left it there. I took the compass off the foyer table and set it on my desk. Sunlight slid across the brass and found the scratches I had stopped seeing. The needle drifted when the air vent clicked on. It steadied when I closed the door. That was useful. Her friends grew warmer with her, and cooler with me. The texts came in clusters, group plans, last-minute cancellations, with my name in none of them. We crossed one of them on the sidewalk outside a gallery she used to mock. The friend widened her smile, then clipped it short. Her eyes checked my face the way people check a weather app. I gave her the same forecast every time. I printed the statements. Paper orders the noise. I circled nothing. I stacked them by week and circled the pattern in my head instead. Outflows up, joint inflows flat. A savings transfer she forgot to pause. Cash back on categories we never used. I set a threshold alert for ATM withdrawals and watched it trip at midnight on Friday. She pushed a credit card across the counter for new shoes and left the receipt in her coat pocket. I folded it and left it on the hall table next to the compass. She picked up the shoes that night. She left the receipt where it was. She knew I noticed. At dinner, she scrolled through a menu on her phone while claiming she wasn't hungry. A text lit up her screen with just an initial. She turned the phone over. She told a story about a coworker getting a promotion without being qualified. I passed the salt. She asked if I was listening. I said enough. Saturday morning, her gym session doubled in length on the calendar. A new line item appeared on the account, private training, month package. She told me her health mattered now. I agreed. Then I moved a portion of my direct deposit to an account she didn't manage and left the rest as if nothing shifted. Calm is a better lock than a password change. I tested the edges. I called the bank and asked about adding a spending alert for travel and hotels. The agent suggested categories and thanked me for being proactive. I said sure. I didn't add hotels. I added lounges. People forget how much life leaks from the small doors. We attended a birthday that night. She wore the impractical dress. Friends asked about our plans in the fall. She answered first, vague and ambitious. I nodded like it was already set. One friend mentioned a new restaurant downtown with a wait list. She said she'd been twice. She didn't look at me when she said it. I sipped water and let the silence earn its place. Back home, she set her clutch near the compass and went to shower. I didn't open it. I lifted the compass instead and turned north until the needle held. The brass felt warmer than the room. Somewhere down the hall water hit tile in a steady run. I placed the compass back where she had to see it on her way out. On Sunday, a notification showed a transfer labeled reimbursement, small again. A habit by now. Language tries to tidy what it can't defend. I adjusted the budget and left her categories untouched. Let the pattern reveal itself. Let the pattern feel safe. You don't need to pull when gravity does the work. She asked if we could upgrade the car next quarter. I suggested servicing the one we have. She said it wouldn't be enough. I checked the odometer and wrote the number down on a sticky note. Numbers end arguments before they start. The week closed with another rooftop charge and ride share after midnight from an address that matched a condo tower with a valet. I bookmarked the tower and closed the laptop. I didn't look out the window. I didn't pace. I went to bed early and heard her keys at 2. She paused in the hallway like she was listening for something. I kept my back turned and let sleep be the answer. By morning, the stack of statements had grown to a quiet wall. I moved my share of the savings into a certificate and set reminders for renewals. She checked the compass before leaving, a quick glance that lasted a beat too long. I made coffee, 1 mug. I didn't rush the next step. Timelines write themselves when you stop editing. Money doesn't mislead. I picked a time. Early evening. Neutral ground. The living room had no corners to hide in. Papers stacked on the console, not fanned, not dramatic. The compass at center, lid open, needle steady. She showered after the gym. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen island, face up, a bright square on stone. I wasn't reaching for it. I was reaching for a glass. The preview wrote itself across the screen. Angel, missed your voice last night. You free later? You deserve more. The next buzz landed a second line. Angel again. A photo of a wine glass, a city view, her favorite skyline. I didn't grab. I didn't gasp. I set my glass down, slid my own phone out, and took a single picture of her screen. 1 frame. Timestamp, contact name, partial lines. Enough. She came in wrapped in a towel, humming small. I stepped aside. She tapped the phone, screen darked, face still calm. She knew a notification had come. She knew I saw the glow. I rinsed the glass and left it on the rack. I went to the office and filed the photo with the others. Bank alerts, transfers, the split in spending. Dates lined in quiet rows. Screens don't improvise. I messaged a friend for coffee. No history in common with her. Not a fan of commentary. He said yes, mid-morning, a place with wooden chairs and bad lighting. I liked it. I arrived 10 minutes early and took the seat that watched the door. He waved, sat, didn't touch his phone. I put the compass on the table between the mugs, lid open, not a prop. He glanced once and then at me. I laid out facts the way I'd lay out tools. Names redacted. Amounts exact. He listened. He didn't interrupt. That's why I chose him. When I finished, he exhaled, long and flat. He didn't ask what I planned. He knew. He pushed his mug aside and nodded once. It was enough. Back home, I sorted the accounts again. Salary rerouted to the new bank. Joint card frozen for new charges. Authorized users updated. I set a credit freeze on my file and saved the PIN. I moved the titles and passports from the drawer to a small fire safe in the closet. Quiet steps. No speeches. She texted midday with a photo of a salad and a caption about meetings. I answered with a thumbs up and set the phone face down. I stopped filling her water bottle. Small things are choices dressed as habits. Angel posted a story that night, public by mistake, a rooftop I'd seen on the charge list. She laughed behind the camera. She turned the lens at an empty chair, the pan too slow. The preview gave me the skyline reflection again. Same glass, same angle. People leave tracks when they feel untouchable. I went for a run before dinner and came back with a clear head and a simple plan. No drama. Facts and questions with endpoints. If she wanted more, we would outline what more meant. In money. In time. In truth. She called from the car and said she'd be late. A client needed her. I said okay and set 2 plates anyway, then put one back in the cabinet. I ate standing up. I washed the pan and let the counters go dry before she walked in. When she did, her eyes flicked to the console. Papers. The compass. The neat stack beside it. She paused at the doorway and held her breath just a half-second too long. She knew I had changed the gravity. We sat on opposite ends of the couch. No TV. No music. I closed the compass lid with a soft click and set it on the table. She watched my hands and waited for me to fill the room. I didn't. I let the silence earn its keep. Angel sent another message. The phone vibrated twice where she'd left it between us. She didn't reach for it. She tried a smile that belonged to a different day. I didn't return it. I walked to the office, pulled one folder, and came back. I placed it next to the compass and kept my thumb on the edge of the cover. She leaned forward, then sat back. She straightened her blouse. I named a time, tomorrow at 7. Not a request. We would talk then. Here. Her shoulders lowered. She said she had plans? I shook my head once. The hallway clock ticked through the stall. She knew which plan mattered. I texted my friend a single word, tomorrow. He replied with an address if I needed a different space after. I saved it and cleared the screen. Before bed, I checked the locks, set the alarm, and powered down the router. I slid the compass into my pocket and felt its weight settle. Not heavy, just present. I wasn't angry. I was organized. Facts show up. Feelings wait their turn. 7 arrived exactly when it always does. I was in the living room with the lights low and the router still off. The compass sat on the coffee table, lid open. North was steady. I took the armchair, not the couch. She came in on soft feet and checked the kitchen like she needed a task. I didn't offer one. She looked at the dark TV, then at me. The space between us did the talking. I slid a folder to the edge of the table. Paper, not screens. She glanced down. Bank statements. Transfer logs. Timestamps circled. I kept my hands flat on my knees. We didn't warm up. Who is Angel? I asked. A blink. Too long. A nickname, she said. A friend from the gym. Casual tone, manufactured late. I watched her mouth settle into the lie she wanted me to believe. I pushed the photo next. The skyline. Her smile angled away from me. He stood half a step closer than strangers do. She touched the paper with one finger, then lifted it like it might be mislabeled. It was a group lunch, she said. You're being intense. I let the silence sit until it wasn't comfortable anymore. Then I turned the compass once with my thumb and left it facing me. Orientation is a choice. You said you needed a man who could provide more, I said. You tested that theory. I tapped once on the statements. New dresses, dinners, car service. Not with me. Not for us. Her shoulders pulled back. I wanted you to step up, she said. To be ambitious. To match my drive. You shut down. You make me feel small. I had to. She stopped, hunting a better angle. You pushed me away. I didn't rise to it. People say that when corners get tight. I watched her search for the righteous place to stand and not find it. Passwords changed. Calendar suddenly private. A contact named Angel. I glanced at the folder again. When you say friend, do you also mean sponsor? Color hit her neck, then retreated. You're twisting things, she said. We're partners. I thought you believed in us. I believe in data. I reached for a second sheet. The autopay cancellations. The credit card closures. My signature where it mattered. Joint cards are closed. The line to my accounts is off. Your phone plan moves to your name next week. I kept my voice even. I won't finance confusion. She laughed once, a quick brittle sound. So this is punishment. This is a boundary. I stood, not fast, and placed the compass in my palm. Warm from the room. You can be with someone who elevates your status. You can be with me. You can't be both. She took a step toward me with her hands open as if that still mattered. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, she said. Everyone's watching. I can't be stuck. Then don't be. I motioned to the hallway. You can have the bedroom tonight. I'll take the guest room. Tomorrow you can start moving your things or we can draft a plan. Your choice. 30 days to divide what's shared. Clean. Documented. Her eyes flashed. You're overreacting. I tilted my head toward the folder. Facts don't react. She paced, checked the dead TV again, then the unplugged router as if she could pull a window out of it. So that's it? No fight? No plea? The last word was a dare. I didn't give it to her. I put the compass back on the table and looked at its face instead of hers. The needle held firm. She saw where my attention went. She knew I noticed that she noticed. I still love you, she said. It came like a tool pulled too late from a box. I didn't argue with that either. Statements don't require agreement. I'll email you the account summaries and the draft terms for the split, I said. If you want counsel, get it. Mine is ready. She swallowed and nodded because nodding is easier than admitting the room has shifted. And if I don't want this? She asked. Then you'll have to want something else enough to prove it, I said. Not with words. She stood there, weighing the math. Her hands found her phone on instinct, and found nothing useful without the network. The quiet in the house had its own spine. I picked up the folder and kept one page out, the photo, and placed it under the compass. The man's face disappeared beneath the brass lid when I closed it. "I'm going for a walk," I said. "You can decide what to pack." I didn't wait for a reply. The door clicked clean behind me. Steadiness doesn't need a speech. I came back when the streetlights cut the yard into squares. The suitcase was by the door, not zipped. She'd taken clothes from the closet and set them in piles, then stalled. The compass still weighed down the photo on the table. I lifted the lid, checked the needle, closed it again. I didn't ask what she'd decided. I pointed to the guest room. She moved without comment. We would not share a bed. Morning had the discipline I needed. I changed the direct deposit, split the accounts, froze the joint card and set alerts on every line still open. Insurance, mortgage, utilities stayed under my name. Essentials only. I placed the prepaid card under the compass and slid a note beneath it. Groceries, gas, 30 days. She read it, waited for me to look up. I didn't. She knew I noticed. By lunch, the story had legs. Neutral texts. A couple of checking on you messages that were really temperature checks. 2 invites dropped off my calendar without explanation. I didn't respond to group threads or rumors. She posted a photo with capable lighting and a caption about growth. She wanted the optics. I let her have them. Silence carries farther than a rebuttal. The spending stopped looking like ours and started looking like hers. The Thursday dinners at places I'd never seen. The boutique account under my name. I closed it and sent a return label for what still had tags. I canceled the gym upgrade she didn't use and kept my old keycard. Payroll sent confirmation. The health plan remained intact. I kept what was fair. I ended what was performance. She asked to meet at a cafe with clear windows and a safe distance between tables. She ordered tea and didn't drink it. She said she misread what more meant. She said she wanted to try again. Her hands made circles on the cup like the motion would create momentum. I listened. When she finished, I tapped the compass in my pocket once and stood. "Show it," I said. "Or don't." I left money for the check and headed to the door. She didn't follow. Days lined up. She took the guest room for a week and then moved into a short-term place near her office. I sent the same amount on the 1st of the month. No more, no less. I emailed a simple agreement and a timeline. Clear, tight, signed. She replied at midnight with paragraphs. I answered with 2 sentences and dates. Control is details, not volume. Friends chose her side in public. They always do. She is lighter to stand next to. I didn't contest it. The ones who needed my version knew where to find me. Most didn't ask. A mutual mentioned that Angel stopped messaging when the statements changed tone. I only nodded. Some truths don't need questions. I cleared the closet at my pace. Boxes labeled, sealed, stacked. I inventoried everything that mattered and took photos for the file. The house looked larger without the constant proof of us. I rerouted the mail, changed a code, set the compass on the windowsill by habit, then pocketed it again. There were lines I would not leave behind. Work steadied. I had fewer lunches, more focus. My boss asked if I wanted to travel. I accepted the trips that made sense and declined the ones that didn't. I sold 2 things I didn't use and paid off the small debts hidden in the comfort of routine. There's a clean sound when numbers click into place. You hear it or you don't. She tried again. A call after midnight. A message before dawn. She wrote that she missed the version of us that believed in more. I watched the screen go dark. Morning came. I sent a calm answer. End the noise, close the loops, bring receipts, then we can discuss logistics. No meetings. No nostalgia. She sent a single word, okay. The space stayed quiet after that. Her circle thinned as the extra slowed. Status is heavy when you have to carry it alone. The people who came for the light didn't like the shade. She started going home early. She started deleting more than posting. We were both making cuts, just in different rooms. I walked at night without counting steps. The compass settled in my palm, its lid warm from my skin. The needle didn't ask for permission to point. I didn't either. Provision isn't spectacle. It's boundaries that hold under pressure. I kept mine.